All right, the main event is here. She's way up there on my list and yours of the best football voices this millennium. Dynamite stuff with our guy Ryan Clark on NFL Live every week. We got to get them into a booth already. Where are you, Goodell? Where are you, ESPN execs? I want to hear that already. The Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny, and of course, she is the #1 Big Ben Roethlisberger fan in sports media. It's Mina Kimes. How are you?
I'm actually feeling great ahead of what many people are calling the Kimes Dameshek Bowl. The streets are calling it that. I don't know if you've been hearing that as well.
Minashek.
I'm in a Minashek, Damakimes. I don't know. We'll workshop it. I'm feeling great. I think I'm in a good place because now Seattle isn't supposed to win, right? No one's picking the Seahawks, so there's only upside for your girl. With Steelers Nation furious with her for her continued Big Ben disrespect over the last year and a half, 2 years. I'm actually not. I was worried a little bit. I was a little scared because the Seahawks defense is so bad. But now I feel like only blue skies ahead.
Isn't that right? Welcome to my world. I said that all through the offseason. Hey, in the last quarter century, no professional team has won a championship without uttering before and after. No one outside this locker room believes in us. Guess what? Steelers, no one believes in you. And now Geno Smith and the Seahawks, no one believes in you either. And now you can kind of absorb the sport as an objective person now. You know, and if the Seahawks reel off a few wins here, gravy.
It was actually a little bit freeing, honestly. Yeah. I mean, devastating personally when watching Wilson go down. But there was something about just like every Geno completion felt like money in my pocket. And, you know, I think I was also very aware of how flawed the Seahawks team was. So even with Russell Wilson as the quarterback, my expectations were kind of declining week by week. So now my expectations are rock bottom and there's nowhere to go but up. I feel great. I will not enjoy this game, though, to be clear. I think you and I should apologize to America, like as a tandem, for having to watch this game.
No, I won't do it because this is the big one. I've been calling for this for 3 weeks when things got off on the wrong foot. And then again, and then on the third foot, I said, if they're going to lose in Lambeau, but if they can get the Steelers at 3-3, get to the bye, it's all about, for me, the journey, Mina. It's kind of what you're talking about. I don't think the Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl, but if they can somehow scratch out 9 wins and keep kicking the can down the road through autumn and into winter for the good people on the banks of the Three Rivers, that's a success story in my book. And if we can get to the bye at 3-3, that buys 2 more weeks of reasonable optimism that maybe at the back end of the playoff seedings, you'll find some black and gold jerseys sitting there. So, yeah, as far as jerseys go, is this the big, I don't want to get hyperbolic, prisoner of the moment. Is this the biggest 7 quarterback wearing number 7 versus quarterback wearing number 7 in the history of people?
I didn't even think about this until, you just blew my mind. Yeah, I think it is. I think
close. The correct answer is Boomer Esiason versus John Elway. That was the best. They actually have to play each other, you understand. We're not just naming number 7s, where they have to have squared off. Of course, the best one ever is Tom Brady v. Aaron Rodgers or Terry Bradshaw v. Roger Staubach. But it's weird that 7, as we've talked about, the best number to wear. Yeah, you would think 7 would be more prominent on this list.
Slimming makes your shoulders look broad. If Ben Roethlisberger loses to Geno Smith in the 7-on-7 bowl, which is what we're renaming the Kimes Dameshek Bowl, does he have to change his jersey number after the game?
Maybe. There's nothing's off the table. If that happens, I hear your noise, and I am not overly confident. Although the Seahawks defense does imbue me with some confidence. But yes, the number 7, it's aspirational. It's an arrow pointed upwards. Don't you see, everybody? Okay, we'll get back to that one in a minute. I want to get your thoughts on the AFC as composed. It is loaded with some really high-end teams here. And let's start with one of those teams that has not been a high-end team so far. Everybody put them into pen into January, and it makes sense that they would. The Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Dameshek, the Vane guy, has to remind you, that I've been saying all season, they would be, or the all off season and into this one, it would be the Chargers who win the AFC West, not the Chiefs.
Really?
That defense is bad. The thing I said, I think we talked on your show last December, January, and I'm pretty sure I said this there. The roster that Patrick Mahomes was on then is the best roster he'll ever be on going forward because he absorbs too much of the salary cap. And of course, there's going to be attrition in other places on the roster. And here we are now. They did a nice job, it would have appeared, of building up the offensive line to keep him clean. He still seems like he's forcing balls into just Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. The defense is atrocious. How say you? Are you certain? How confident are you on the 1 to 10 confidence meter that the Chiefs rise back up, take care of business, and at minimum are a factor come January?
I think they'll be a factor. I think the Chargers might edge them out at this point. It might be hard for them to make up the difference in the AFC West. I still think the Chiefs will be in the playoffs, and I disagree with your diagnosis as to why they're not a good team. Although I do think they're a flawed team. Obviously, the defense is terrible, but they're not terrible because of Patrick Mahomes' salary. They're terrible because they gave Frank Clark a ton of money after trading for him, and he's not lived up to his contract at all. And the way that team is constructed, whereas they blitz so much, play so much man coverage under Steve Spagnuolo, the inability to get a pass rush is revealing some real cracks in that secondary, some real problems and mistakes they've made in drafting.
Poor Daniel Sorensen. I see him chasing guys a lot when I watch the Chiefs play.
I tweeted a meme of a dog with a sniper rifle and wrote, "Quarterbacks looking for Daniel Sorensen," and then I deleted it because I felt too bad for him. I was offended, though, when Chris Collinsworth said he's usually one of their best players. I try not to join the Collinsworth pylons on Sunday nights, but that one, like, hurt my soul when he said that.
He gets a little loose with the hyperbole. Not a little loose. That's the opposite, because that was an understatement. He gets very loose with it. It's crazy. It's like, see that? Well, that's the difference with the Bills and everybody else when they play the Chiefs. They could keep up offensively with them. That's like, did you see the Browns-Chargers game, Chris? It was just ended 90 minutes ago, man. I think those two teams probably can shoot it out as well. And in fact, have already shot it out with them. The Chargers beat them, Chris? What are you talking about? The Chargers have already disproven what you just said. I will say that it is not a coincidence, and I know it's facile kind of application of cold hard fact, but quarterbacks since the year 2000, and QB wins are still a QB. That is still a statistic. I know that you continue to wrongly pound the table in the wrong direction, but
we're not going
to do that. QB seasons 2 through 5, 20 Super Bowl appearances. When a quarterback is in his 2nd to 5th season, QB season 6 through 12, 16 Super Bowl appearances. Clearly, we make a great deal out of veteran presence and what that means in the locker room and everything else, but the simple evidence suggests what you want is a young, talented guy still on his rookie deal. It's not a coincidence that Russell Wilson hasn't been back to a Super Bowl since then. As just for instance, I'm throwing that one out. And it's not a fair comp to Patrick Mahomes at this point. Has Justin Herbert vaulted him? No, Justin Herbert is playing on his rookie deal. Mahomes is now absorbing much more of the cap, right?
I think there's some of that, but I also think that the Chargers defense is just simply better than the Chiefs. And it's not just because of, like, Joey Bosa got paid, but he is significantly better than Frank Clark. That is probably a massive differentiating factor between those two teams. I'm very interested, by the way, in that you vaulted the Chargers above the Bills. And that's actually what I kind of want to ask you. Like, why? You're shaking your head. You came out. You said the Chargers are going to represent the AFC. Do you still feel that they're better than the Bills?
One thing I was looking for the first game of the season for them, I thought that they would overwhelm the very poor Steelers O-line. You know how you can overreact when it's your team and you're watching them. My assumption was the Bills would steamroll them because they spent all offseason fixing up their deficiency, which was the pass rush. Now they have one, and it didn't show up in week 1, so it was a head scratcher for me. maybe I'm a little asleep on the Bills. So listen, it's a powerhouse matchup, that's for sure. And the thing that I love about it is, as we track towards this prematurely, of course, for what's going to be, but imagine if it's the Browns, the Chargers, and the Bills fighting to get to the Super Bowl. Two of those three teams in the title game with these cursed histories across the board. One of them has to go. I think the rules require someone goes out of that trio. I think it's great for all three fan bases. I'm looking forward to that. But at the bottom half of the AFC playoffs, if we assume Tennessee, Buffalo win their divisions, and then Cleveland and Baltimore both make the playoffs, and the Chargers and Chiefs both make the playoffs, who gets the 7th seed? Cincy, Pittsburgh, Vegas, Denver, Patriots. One of those, there's one playoff, if I'm right about my assumptions there.
Yeah, no, I liked all your picks. I'd have to look at their schedules because all the teams you made, I don't think any of them really stand above the other. I think that I was really impressed by the Bengals, and their loss should have been a win to the Packers. I think they're a little more balanced than we expected. I do think that they're not, they belong, however, below the Browns and Ravens in their own division, which makes it challenging because they're going to have to play them. So that gives me some pause, along with the Steelers for the same reason. Raiders, God, given everything that's going on there, it just feels like not their season.
I agree, because he's their play caller, Gruden, right? I mean, it's not like, well, this will be galvanizing for them and they'll rally, but practically it's, I know that they have the Carr and the play caller and everything else have the relationship, but it's obviously a drop off from Gruden, right?
Yeah, I think other people are also kind of overrating that team after the first few weeks of the season. I agree. Separate from this Gruden crap. So, I kind of still think the Patriots can squeeze their way in. I think that defense has been underperforming a little bit, and has a lot of young players. When like Matt Judon's not young, but players who are starting to kind of find their stride, and I think they're figuring out the offensive formula with Mac Jones. So, yeah, I'll go New England out of that group.
Interesting. I like that choice, and I'm waiting to see the Patriots play the Bills before I see the division to the Bills. It certainly would appear that they're well on their way to getting it, but let's see, because that's what Belichick does to the big ego guys. He seduces them into throwing passes they shouldn't be trying to throw. By the way, I'm not going to run through it for you now. The only team out of the 6 I named for you that are like, well, those teams are going to end up in the playoffs. Let's not assume the Chiefs, because if you go through their remaining schedule, I can tick off 9 games for you. I was doing this with spaghetti before we got going here. There are 5 losses potentially out of these 9 games that they have coming up, that if they're 9-8, they're going to be right on the fence there. Meantime, I know you have we were texting about it, without the Seahawks to embrace, you're now on the Baltimore Ravens. Is that right?
Yeah, the Chargers are really, like a lot of America, winning me over. I mean, I guess that's a little unethical because I profiled their quarterback this summer, so maybe I can't root for the Chargers. And I'm not even because of him, candidly. I just kind of like the whole organizational vibe right now.
Yeah.
They're really just fun to watch. But I got to go Ravens just because on a pure, like how people talk about league pass teams, they've kind of been, they're like my, if the Ravens are on, and the really both sides of the ball, but especially if the offense is in the field, you're just watching. Like, it's just interesting. And it was fun. You and I were talking a little bit and before we started talking about the Gruden news. And it was interesting because it came out in the first half of that Ravens-Colts Monday night game. It felt like nobody was even watching because of the news. And then the second half is when Lamar took over. And it was just such an electric half of football plus overtime. Like, how can you not enjoy watching that unless you're a Steelers fan? Like, I just, it's just so eminently entertaining.
He is, it's hard to find the words exactly because he is unique. And in fact, Brandon Staley described him as exactly that. I've been saying for the last few weeks about him, trying to figure out Lamar Jackson. Chili isn't soup and a hot dog isn't a sandwich. And in the same way, those things are better because they're unique. They're one of one. Yeah. And that's what Lamar Jackson is. We've never seen anything like this. I saw Michael Vick. I saw Steve Young. I've seen other guys who can run and embarrass professional, superhuman athletes and everything. I've never seen anything quite like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
That's
and I would say his progression, I mean, he was a good passer in 2019, but the style, the way I actually tweeted about this, his ability now to routinely make intermediate throws outside the numbers really is taking his game in a different direction. I'm really excited to see them with Rashad Bateman back. And, he is unique, but I was talking to someone, Eddie Spaghetti, who I know is a Giants fan, will like this. I was talking to someone about Kadarius Toney, who may or may not be punished by Joe Judge at the time of this podcast. And I was saying, like, God, when I watch this guy, I cannot think of a player that he reminds me of because he is so special. And then I said, really, the closest thing is like person who, in the way he moves, is Lamar Jackson in terms of the elite change of direction ability. I realize comparing Lamar to a wide receiver is fraught given the history of that. But the way those guys move, purely like if you had never watched football and you had no idea what you were seeing and you were an alien from outer space and you just dropped on the earth and turned on a game and you would say, wow, those two players, those two guys, those two athletes can do something that not a single other human being on this field can do. And that's how I feel watching both of them, frankly.
Right. And therefore nearly impossible to prepare for. You can't get, because there isn't somebody on the practice squad who can fill in and do 8 stuff in purple for you. It is difficult. I will say though, that 4-1 is fraudulent. I know that there's Greg Rosenthal, our pal said this. I feel like they're a lot like the Patriots. I feel like they're a lot like they're mysterious. Wow. Like, how did they end up winning games? Like, listen, the offensive line is
impression. Brutal.
That's a good one. Oh no, that's a good impression. I don't care. I don't care about that.
Oh God!
I won 7. I won 7 Super Bowls. I don't care if they win again. Now,
I hate to see how you do my voice.
I haven't worked. I'll work on that for the next time. Now, the O-line isn't good. Indy is not a good football team. They're a terrible defensive team. KC's not
terrible.
Good. Detroit, well, okay, they're not. No, they have nice pieces. Okay, that's an overstatement. KC is terrible defensively. Detroit's not good. The Chargers are good. They beat them. The Browns should have beaten them in Arrowhead. It just adds up to me. I know that 4-1 is 4-1, but I feel like of those high-end teams that you're looking at, I disagree with you because I've seen you float this, that you count the Ravens as a legit Super Bowl contender. Count me out on that.
I think they're a flawed team. I definitely think that. The defense, I think losing Marcus Peters was brutal. I think the pass rush is kind of still coming into its own. I love Odafe Owe, the rookie that they drafted.
For sure. That's a great infusion that they desperately needed because they're pretty old up front otherwise. In their front seven.
By the way, before we end this, remind me to make one apology to Steelers fans. But that just triggered my thought. But I also think that there's just too many flawed teams in the NFL right now to count out a team from being a contender because they're flawed. And that to me has been the biggest surprise this NFL season. Coming into the year, I thought the Chiefs and the Bucks would be dominant. I do not feel that way now. Even the teams like the Rams, who early on the season seemed so dominant, now I see some holes. Right now, the Bills look complete, but I don't really know if that's going to be true in a few weeks. I don't think the Cardinals are as complete as people think. So when it comes to picking Super Bowl contenders, for me, I really don't think any team is perfect right now, which makes it a beautiful time to be an NFL fan.
Especially if you're a Geno Smith fan right now. I don't want to talk any stuff because I'll be truly ashamed if the night ends on Sunday with the Seahawks celebrating.
I want to come back on your podcast.
Chris, what a story. I got to tell you, it's a great story for Geno Smith. I got to tell you, I'm really...
if Geno Smith actually wins, I'm going to stroll into... So, Stephen A. is a Steelers fan. I'm going to stroll into First Take on Tuesday like I'm the Queen of England. I'm going to... crash your podcast. And if they lose, what? Steelers fans are going to talk shit to me? It's Geno Smith.
Don't you see? It's nice for the people there. It's nice for the people in Pittsburgh because then it buys us 2 more weeks to look ahead and feel good. Maybe we can get it done and maybe we can sneak into the playoffs. Meantime, we do have to talk about that game, and that's what I want to get to here. But very quickly, weird line of the week. Why are the Cowboys only giving 3.5 to the Patriots? I completely hear you, and I can see it both ways. And I know Belichick can slow down just about anybody, as he did his old pal Brady a couple of weeks ago. But then again, they almost just lost to the backup quarterback in the Texans. So, if Davis Mills is thrown for 303 touchdowns on you, can we really point to Belichick being able to slow down a quarterback? And really, what are you taking away from the Cowboys? Well, that's what Belichick does. He takes away what you want to do most. What do the Cowboys want to do most?
Yeah, that's not going to work out well for them. I don't agree with that at all. I don't think the Cowboys are a perfectly balanced team. I think the defense is fine, but I do think they're a significantly better team than the Patriots.
I do like when people wring hands as a 30,000-foot view, as if they're not aware that free agency and injuries exist. That who's not a complete roster? Every team that plays pro football. This the illusion. If we can just get healthy, no one ever gets fully healthy. So stop entertaining that idea. All right, now to the big one. Gino, Big Ben. As a vain person, I'm actually miffed that Russ is out on this one, because among my big predictions, Chargers to the Super Bowl, Brandon Staley, Coach of the Year, and Seattle out of the playoffs. I said that. And now that Russ is out, it feels like a gimme.
Yeah.
And if he had been there, it still would have come to pass. Are you indulging this at all? I mean, this is just puncher's chance. Steelers aren't, they are one of the flawed teams you discussed.
So what it would take for the Seahawks to pull off the upset is, I would say the defense would have to play about like they did against San Francisco. Stylistically, obviously, it's very different when you're playing Pittsburgh. All defenses are kind of playing Ben the same these days. And Seattle secondary is really struggling. Also, the linebackers have struggled in coverage as well. But I think the defensive line has been playing a little bit below their talent level, and I think that they can wreak some havoc up front. I was also, by the way, this was the apology, I was really impressed by the Steelers' run blocking, obviously, last week.
Starting
and
to come together, right?
It's starting to come together. Pass pro, a little different story, but the run blocking looks good. And then on their side of the ball, Geno Smith needs to be an effective distributor, not turn the ball over. Because here's the thing, this is the best set of weapons he has ever had. He is walking into, Hurts and picking up a Ferrari. And DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, I think he'll have Gerald Everett back for this game too, which is impactful. So he just kind of needs to, I would say if he plays similarly to how he did, frankly, in relief of Russ, they have a chance in this. Now, that is a big if, because Steelers defense is very good. And I'm familiar with Geno Smith's record. So I am not picking the Seahawks. I do not expect them to win, but I am going to talk so much shit if they do.
Oh my God. What a luxurious spot you sit in. That's how I probably am going to feel when we play the Browns. It's like, what? We're not supposed to win. And then if we do, then see, I'll feel extra happy about it. All right. Here's the thing I have to quibble with you about. I completely get it. Listen, this is what people do on social media. Roethlisberger throws one long touchdown pass, and I immediately, by the way, this is you winning. I think you're savvy enough to know that this is Mina Kimes winning in her profession. When you are the first person that a Steelers fan thinks of when Roethlisberger throws a long touchdown pass, that means your brain worm is doing its thing on their heads. My quibble though is that's all that Roethlisberger is expected to do. The idea that if they would have merely survived the Raiders game, we would be having a very different conversation about them. Now they didn't, but that we would be. And if they get the 3-3, it's not the sky doesn't have to be falling, and they're not. Roethlisberger's not supposed to carry the load and be dying. They're supposed to run the ball and defend. And I do think because I saw you on social media. The 2015 Denver Broncos model is exactly what Kevin Colbert had. He was trying to thread the needle. They had no other option at quarterback. They need their Hall of Famer to be savvy enough and make 3 to 6 throws a game and ride the defense in the run game. And you said, that Roethlisberger's not as good as Peyton was in 2015. Oh no, Peyton was the worst quarterback in the NFL. I backed up a little bit. Maybe it's a little bit of recency bias.
I now think it's about the same. It's about the same.
No, even then, that's not enough. That's still not enough from you.
Dude, he's so washed. We don't have to type. I already apologized to the offensive line and the run blocking, but I'm not going to waver on my position that the dude is washed. I'm sorry. I'm just not. You know who I love? I love Steelers fans are always like, why do you hate the Steelers? I don't hate the Steelers. I think Ben Roethlisberger is washed. I love Cam Hayward. I'm constantly trying to get the national media to talk about Cam Hayward.
That's a great call.
Hall of Famer. Cam Hayward. I don't hate the Steelers.
I was just going to...
I think he's a Hall of
it's
Famer.
funny. I think people don't.
This year.
I love that you're talking this.
Fourth All-Pro? I think he's been All-Pro twice, maybe second team once. Anyways,
the last half decade
this year. Yeah.
He is in the era of Aaron Donald. And so, all right. But he is 1A, the most dominant interior defensive player in pro football, and has been for half a decade. And I think that people, because of the noise that you make specifically, are nationally catching on of how much of a game wrecker he is. And he's just straight. He's not Aaron Donald. He just straight pushes giant human beings around and humiliates them, almost like Vita Vea does. That's the other guy. But I'm interested to hear you say actually gold jacket for that guy, because I feel like there's maybe a gap there.
No, I firmly believe that. Like I said, the dude has, I'm not looking at the internet, 2 All-Pros, I think maybe 3, maybe one's of them a second team. He should be this year based on how he's played through the first 5 weeks of the season. Every Steelers down, I watch him because he does something on every down. Just one of the best players of our era.
He moves people. It's crazy.
Look at this. You're bringing me back into the Steelers fold. See, guys, stop. I don't hate you. I just think your quarterback is smushed.
Kimes Korean favor with the Yinzers. I love it. Now, let's spin it quickly here. The QB carousel. It happens every year now. People aren't up to speed on this. I talk about we've reached QB saturation now. There are 32 human beings capable of playing pro football QB effectively. Now, there are contracts and things like that get in the way, and people say, well, what about Geno Smith starting then? Well, their starting quarterback got hurt. That's why are old? Well, those nuances aside, there are going to be good quarterbacks in free agency and otherwise. I suspect this might be the biggest year of movement yet. Aaron Rodgers out of Green Bay. Where's Russell Wilson in 2022?
I was told this was a 20-minute podcast, and we're on
30. You know where he might be? Wearing that number 3 in black and gold. I think.
Stop. Okay, that is enough. That is enough.
I could absolutely see it. You may not like it, but Rodgers could choose Seattle, and if he does,
here I am feeling like I'm being so kind with my Cam Hayward Hall of Fame take. I'm trying to do the yeoman's work of bringing that take to the masses, frankly, and you punish me with this idea of Russell Wilson in a Steelers dress. Offensive.
Be nice. I mean, I don't think Rodgers is coming to Pittsburgh. I love the idea that that's going to be. He's going to leave the town that he despaired. Nobody wants to be in Green Bay if I weren't here. Yeah, he's going to choose Pittsburgh. That's where it's going to wind up.
Russ is used to being sacked, so I feel like it's work.
Last thing for you then. I want to ask a couple Seattle fan questions for you. 3 distinct eras for the Seahawks in terms of uniforms. You know, I love my uniforms. The original silver hats, the royal blue, glorious, nice. A little too Raiders-y when they shared the division with them, but still a nice and striking Jim Zorn, Steve Largent, and beyond uniform. Then they go to the Seafoam, last seen in Super Bowl 40. I forget. Oh, no, they lost to Roethlisberger. And then the new one, that darker blue, all blue, sometimes, what do they call
Navy.
It? Wolf gray, and sometimes
I love
neon.
The wolf gray. Yeah, the action green is unforgivable, though, yeah.
You know what? It's very Pacific Northwest to me. You know, the Mariners wear it, the Kraken. I don't mind it.
No, it's a totally different green.
Give me your win-play show of the eras of Seahawks uniforms.
Oh, of course, the retro original ones are the best. It's honestly horrible that they don't have that as a throwback. I don't understand the jersey rules, so I don't understand why exactly. But so I'd go that. The modern era, I don't mind them. I don't hate them outside of the action green. And then the worst, the Reebok ones were terrible.
Last thing then, Kimes, is you're a big M's fan. Sorry, they came up just a whisker short there.
Let's get used to it.
Seahawks, you know, are you now turning your eye to the Kraken?
I love the jerseys. I love the whole the vibe, all of it. I don't know much about hockey, so I'm very upfront about it, but I am perfectly, it's hard right now during the heart of the NFL season, but when I have some more time, I'm excited to learn and bandwagon the Kraken as well. I mean, I'll be busy with the Nets then, though, so it's like a lot.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, your Nets. Let's not talk about Kyrie. Oh my God!
Enough.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing, Kyrie? What are you doing? Voice of the voiceless. What?
I got nothing.
Kraken is a weird name though, because it's one beast. And there are 20 guys that play. Since you don't know about, you say you don't know about hockey, 20 guys suit up, but it's a singular. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense, Kimes.
Like the Utah Jazz.
Well, that doesn't make sense. Doesn't make it right.
The Red Sox, the White Sox.
You're giving these people a pass. Don't you understand? You use your powers for good when you talk about Cam Hayward getting a gold jacket. But you know what?
Can you put that one online so that Steelers fans stop yelling at me for once?
I think Eddie Spaghetti will be sure to post that video ASAP, and therefore Kimes will have all the heat off of her after that. Just make sure that Gino doesn't go in there and undo all the good work you've done here today with us, Kimes. Yeah. Kimes, you are the best. Really enjoy seeing you on the TV, reading your work with Justin Herbert, dynamite stuff. You are a star because you deserve to be a star, and we appreciate you carving out time to talk to Dumb Dave and preview this electric pro football game. Sal, by the way, just to share as you go off, his hypothesis, the reason NBC kept the game when they could have dumped it last week is because they thought this could be, and he means it, this could be Roethlisberger's last game. And he think, what a creep, but he also could be right.
That's dark.
If they went to 1-5, they might have made the move there. They gambled and they lost. And if you gamble on the Seahawks, I hope you lose this weekend. That's what Dave the fan says about that one. Kimes, we appreciate all the time.
Bye, guys.